Fires in the foothills. A growing monster in Larimer County, too dangerous for firefighters to even get on the ground to protect houses. And a new fire, too close to Lyons for people to stay in their homes. An evacuation zone right in the heart of town tonight. Up-to-the-minute details on both those fast-growing fires as Coloradans rally in ways big and small to help.
It hit me really hard then that this really is in my neck of the woods, and these are people that really need my help.
Your next question answered about whether Colorado's expensive and long-delayed firefighting tool is finally being used on the fires. And a lot of wild claims, including from powerful people, about just what happened when a large crowd gathered in Aurora to cheer the election results in Venezuela. Not easy to get straight info, even from police. That's tonight on Next. 10 miles apart, two fires burn in the Front Range foothills tonight, with the potential to grow from scary into seriously destructive. Their close proximity is both a blessing and a curse, allowing firefighters the same planes and helicopters at their disposal to fight both fires. North side of Lyons in Boulder County is being evacuated as we speak. The Stone Creek fire burns north of town, and the fear is that a wind shift could send it racing back toward Lyons. The view from Sky 9 shows it likely got a home, if not two, before a furious string of airdrops came rolling in from the fire crews that were working a larger fire nearby in Larimer County. That fire was 85 acres before recent runs near Lyons. Easily upwards of 500 people have been told they need to leave home. We will go live to Lyons in a moment. First, I want to show you the evacuation areas. So Lyons is being cleared out from north of Broadway and east of 5th Avenue. But here you're seeing the big picture that shows that the evacuation areas for the fire in Lyons are clear up to the evacuation areas for the fire in Larimer County. That far larger fire doubled in size today, up to 3,500 acres. The Alexander Mountain fire is moving west, north, and east at once. 3,000 to 4,000 people are evacuated from Glen Haven on the edge of the foothills, out to the edge of the foothills west of Loveland. The warnings that grew on the east and the west side of the flanks of the fire today are an indication of its spread. Firefighters say it is currently too dangerous to put people on the ground in that rough terrain to protect homes, and they know the fire is very close to some structures. They acknowledge there are only so many resources to go around, with Colorado and the wider West seeing a number of large fires.
We'll be having a night shift this evening, overnight, trying to do what we can, but we are facing a pretty significant shortage of resources nationally. Fortunately, we've had great support because of the potential impacts that this fire poses to the community around here.
The complex incident management team arrives tomorrow. They're experts on managing larger wildfires. They'll have access to more personnel and more resources. If the winds are to shift and to push both of those fires south, that's bad news on both. It could push the Alexander Mountain fire in Larimer County over US 34, and it could turn the Stone Canyon fire down toward Lyons. And all this, of course, at a time when Colorado's bone dry with low humidity. Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen is joining us from south of Lyons, and you've been watching the winds and the fire for the last couple of hours. Corey, has that wind shift that firefighters feared actually happened?
Yeah, that wind shift has not happened just yet. That should happen late tonight. But one thing I have noticed is the winds have completely died down for now. We have calm to 1 to 2 mile per hour winds around the fire, and we've really noticed that the fire has reacted to that. There's a lot less smoke and a lot less flames visible from our area here south of Lyons, but the fire is still on the move. We've been watching this fire generally move straight to the north and slightly to the northeast. So as you're looking towards these big Steamboat Valley Road and Eagle Ridge Road runs straight back into that, and there are sparsely homes kind of sparsely lining each three of those roads as they go back into there. So the firefighters are trying to do their best to get ahead of that wind shift that they do anticipate, and this is exactly what we've been fearing for the last 2 very hot, dry months, and we don't need any data to tell that to any of these people around here, including the Boulder County Sheriff that spoke about that earlier today.
It's going to be hot, it's going to be dry, and we're in a red flag warning for the winds that are expected to pick up later today. So the conditions are about as bad as they can be for us to be fighting this fire.
So when he's talking about those winds, They're generally been light between the 15 to 30 mile per hour range. So that's comparatively to some of the fires that we've seen in the past. But that is still difficult conditions, and that will remain. They'll anticipate that wind shift. And Kyle, what they are really concerned about is the humidity levels in the single digits during the day, and they're not recharging overnight. So none of this vegetation out here is having an opportunity to draw in moisture overnight like it normally does.
That is meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen in Lyons for us. Corey, thank you. Want to bring in meteorologist Kathy Sabin to look ahead to what tomorrow might bring for both of these firefights.
Kyle, Corey alluded to a change, and that is this trough, this weak front to the north. It is due to come in around midnight tonight, and that will take the winds, which are out of the west and southwest, and bring them in, and they'll come in out of the north and northwest, and that's what fire managers are most concerned about. The smoke and haze has been moving into the metro area. You can see it from just about any vantage point in the city. We do not have much chance of rain until Friday. There's a slight chance. We continue with a fire weather warning as we're watching the smoke plumes around the foothills, and we also continue with an air quality advisory. Our high today, 98. We're down to 95. Triple-digit highs out across eastern Colorado. And Corey mentioned single-digit, the humidity values anywhere from 5 to 12%. And then you factor in the wind, which has been picking up in the last hour out of the west and southwest to 20 and 25 miles per hour. And if you kind of look at what's happening in the two fires north of Lyons and near Loveland, we're seeing those winds pick up just a bit tonight. Over the next 12 hours or so, they'll be shifting and increasing. But that will not scour out the bad air. We've got an air quality alert in effect, a fire weather warning that may be expanded out along the Front Range for tomorrow. And we have a heat advisory. And this heat advisory remains in effect for Denver until 8 o'clock tonight for temperatures 98 to 101 today, way above average and in record territory. Temperature profile over the next few hours in the 90s, dropping into the 80s after sunset. And over the next few days, smoke and haze will move in tomorrow. We have temperatures near 100 on Thursday, a slight chance of a shower from storms Friday, and then above average highs for the weekend into the first part of next week.
A whole bunch of Next viewers saw the fires and asked the same question. Hans, Danny, Patrick, others all want to know if the state's multi-million-dollar Firehawk helicopter, which has been grounded for years, is finally seeing some action. So the $24 million Firehawk did fly to Fort Collins yesterday afternoon to work the Alexander Mountain fire, and flight trackers show that it made another trip up there to work today. It's responding alongside nearly a dozen helicopters and air tankers. Should note, the flights this week are not the helicopter's debut. That actually happened quite quietly. The state says the long-awaited Firehawk responded to a fire in Yuma County earlier this month. A crowd of thousands gathered in Aurora last weekend as the election results came in from Venezuela. From the looks of videos on social media, it got wild. But some of the claims being made, including by elected officials, are even wilder. Our Marshall Zellinger set out to separate fact from fiction.
Social media captured this large gathering in Aurora after Sunday's presidential election in Venezuela, where the crowd expected an autocrat to be thrown out of power. Aurora police believe 3,000 to 4,000 people were in this area Sunday night at the Gardens on Havana, the old Buckingham Square area in Aurora. A gathering that led to social media posts like this one from Aurora City Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky, where she wrote, "There were reports of assaults, thefts, and gunshots in the air. A police car was shot up."
That is the way that it was conveyed to me, but I have not seen the police car.
Jurinsky showed me several text threads that she said came from Aurora police officers with images and narratives of what was happening.
Assaults, theft, vandalism. There's multiple videos showing that.
They just jacked them?
You hear them yelling that someone just got jacked. You hear them yelling that they were just almost hit by a car. You hear the gunshots.
In a prepared statement to clear up misinformation, Aurora police say shots were fired in the air, but no one was injured, and that an Aurora police vehicle was hit by an unknown object while driving in the area, but it is still unclear if it was related to this gathering.
The interim police chief called me yesterday. We spoke for roughly 15 minutes. She is the one that told me that someone had in fact been grazed by the bullet.
That is not in the Aurora police statement. And before that statement came out, I asked Jurinsky if she felt officers might use her as a louder mouthpiece to spread information that might not be accurate.
Usually when one officer reaches out about something, I do take that into consideration, but when it's multiple officers that start reaching out about the same thing, I do look into it.
Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman also posted on social media that residents of Aurora are owed an apology from the Venezuelan immigrant community for unacceptable conduct because trash was left behind and because the shopping center was blocked off. What we need to get to the bottom of is really what happened. Either you know a police car was shot at or not. There's a hole or a graze or there isn't. Someone was hurt or they weren't. Statements only go so far. Kyle, we need video. We need firsthand accounts beyond just the gathering video that we've seen from social media.
Yeah, also interesting to hear an elected official ask for an apology from an entire ethnic group or nationality. That's something to behold. Marshall, thank you. When we return here, updates on both major wildfires burning in the foothills and a look at what Coloradans are already doing to help their neighbors. If you climb Bow Mountain northwest of Boulder, you will get a clear look, or you could just look through the lens of our camera there, showing the side-by-side smoke plumes from the Alexander Mountain Fire and the Stone Canyon Fire, one in Larimer County, the other by Lyons. The more immediate threat to homes and lives is the Stone Canyon Fire north of Lyons, because up in Larimer County, the Alexander Mountain Fire is 3,500 acres, 40 times larger, but in far more rural terrain. These firefights are sharing resources that are already stretched thin across the state, and there's not much national help available because of mega fires that are burning in California and more fires in Oregon, Washington, and enormous ones up in Canada. People in and around Loveland are already stepping up to take care of each other. As the fire continues to grow, so do the donations. Julissa Arizari has that.
Shortly after the start of the Alexander Mountain Fire, a lot of people had a little bit of time to evacuate their homes. Some left with their valuables, others with nothing. And that's when people like Trinity Zinth step in. When life feels in limbo, sometimes it's best to just keep moving. Behind the wheel is where Trinity Zinth can be found.
They can only do so much.
Navigating a town filled with sadness and smoke.
And there's the road closure sign.
The Alexander Mountain Fire has burned thousands of acres and evacuated plenty of homes.
Thank you so much for all your help.
Trinity knows a lot of people left with little, so she's spending the day trying to fix that, collecting donations from people throughout the community.
It hit me really hard then that this really is in my neck of the woods, and these are people that really need my help.
With a car covered in supplies and a heart filled with ambition, Trinity does what she can, for who she can.
And you said this black table over here?
She stops at the hotels, hosting some of the evacuees, dropping off anything they may need, even though she knows
I just got another alert for a mandatory evacuation.
She may be next.
Even if this helps just a little bit, I want to do it.
Her drive is not lost on the evacuees. As she piles supplies at her second stop, Tanya Scraggs is a heap of emotion.
Because so many people are at risk in our houses, and it's nice to see that people really care.
Even when everything is up in the air.
Can I give you a hug?
Yes.
Kindness can keep us grounded.
We do appreciate it.
Of course. I'm glad I can help.
Very awesome of you.
I'll be back tomorrow with some more support.
That was Julissa Arizari reporting. Employees with the 120 Bar and Grill are still collecting donations for evacuees. They're on Lincoln Avenue in Loveland.
I wanted to certainly be careful about getting in front of my colleagues given my role in facilitating that process.
A powerful and recently very quiet Democrat in Colorado's congressional delegation explains what he was doing behind the scenes when he wasn't telling voters his opinion of Joe Biden. We have new information out of Boulder County about the Stone Canyon fire near Lyons. They have now shut down westbound traffic into Lyons on highways 36 and 66 to make it easier for them to get firefighting equipment into town while people evacuate. This is a new map of the evacuation area and the fire border. Blue is the fire border, red is the evacuation zone, which now stretches into Lyons, down to Main Street, down to Broadway. Our next conversation tonight is with Colorado's highest-ranking congressional Democrat, Representative Joe Aus of Boulder County. Frankly, he has been difficult to connect with lately, especially since he's been elevated to the fourth highest position within the House Democrats. Though he took exception to our characterization of that perception when our Marshall Zellinger finally got a chance to talk to him about President Joe Biden dropping his re-election bid.
Did you think he should continue running, or did you think he should drop out and chose not to tell that to Coloradans?
I respect the president's decision. I agree with the president's decision. I thought he gave a very important and eloquent speech just a few days ago in explaining his rationale.
Democratic Congressman Joe Aus defended President Biden's decision to no longer run for re-election. Aus holds the fourth highest spot in House Democratic leadership. But leading up to the president's decision, we never heard him say whether Biden should keep running or not.
I was privileged to play a role in convening conversations between my colleagues on this precise question for the better part of a few weeks as we work to try to figure a way forward and enable members of the caucus to be able to share their views. And I wanted to certainly be careful about getting in front of my colleagues given my role in facilitating that process.
Does that mean you felt he should step aside and just were not vocal about that?
No, I guess what I'm saying to you, Marshall, is one, I had a responsibility, again, as the assistant Democratic leader in the caucus, to engage with every member of the caucus and facilitate them giving their feedback to Leader Jeffries, who I work closely with, so that he could then ultimately convey the views of our caucus to President Biden.
We heard about Congressman Crow getting to say his piece on a phone call. Did you ever get a chance to say anything directly to the president?
I did not speak directly to the president. As I said, I serve in the House leadership, and so was part of that process to ultimately funnel up the information to Leader Jeffries, who did meet directly with the president and presented the caucus's views.
Despite not providing his opinion publicly about Biden's re-election effort, Aus disagreed that he is less forthcoming now that he is in a leadership role as assistant minority leader. Are you silenced now because you're in leadership?
No, not at all. Far from it. I mean, as I said, I don't know if you want to rehash the questions about the president's decision to stay in the race, but as I said previously, I articulated publicly that I had conflicting views about the path forward, and that ultimately I thought it was the president's decision to make.
I also had a chance to ask Aus about a vote last week. He voted against a Republican effort to strongly condemn Vice President Kamala Harris for failing to secure the border. I asked him about Democratic Congresswoman Yadira Caraveo voting yes. She was one of 6 Democrats who joined Republicans in that condemnation vote just days after endorsing Harris for president.
If anything, I think the fact that we have a richness of views and that we can have a healthy debate and agree to disagree, but nonetheless be undergirded by our shared values is what makes the Democratic Party strong and, frankly, very different. Again, without to get too partisan here, but very different from my colleagues on the other side who, are very much kind of towing the party line, irrespective of their underlying views on the matter.
You can watch Marshall's full conversation with Representative Joe Aus on the next YouTube channel at 9news.com. We'll return to answer one of your real-time questions about the fires next. Jeff asks, why have they been so hush-hush about the source of the 2 Colorado fires? Well, Jeff, one is 2 days old. The other one started this afternoon. I don't sense a conspiracy. Resources are focused on lives and property. And investigations can take time. It took 2 years for us to find out East Troublesome was human-caused.